Canson Baryta Photographic is a silky smooth satin paper reminiscent of traditional darkroom Baryta prints. It offers excellent black density, probably the highest on the market, together with great image contrast and detail. One of the things I'm often asked is how Baryta differs from platine fiber rag, a similar paper. And it differs in two distinct ways. Number one, it's definitely a smoother paper, and also it's an alpha cellulose paper, whereas platine fiber rag is a cotton-backed paper. Now, Baryta does contain some natural brightening agents, and I say natural because it's inherent in the barium sulfate.
And welcome this afternoon to the Visionary Print category. So this is a really exciting new category that's been introduced this year, and believe me, the judges are in for a real treat. So the Visionary category is a homage to Creativity Unbound. Unleash your most imaginative and unconventional works. Draw inspiration from your own subconscious surrealism, expressionism, and creative outlets to challenge conventional imagery. This is the category to push boundaries, experiment fearlessly, and redefine visual storytelling. Unique to the Visionary category, you can enter flat images up to A1 size, or 30 photographic or sculptural based images, 3D photographic sculptural based images, up to 40 centimetres in height, width and depth. The full range of post-production and digital manipulation techniques, including composites, are permitted. All elements of an entry must be 100% photographic in origin. Okay, so we want to thank our category sponsor, Canson Infinity. They have amazing photographic products, fine art papers and canvas designed for fine art printing in the highest quality. The Australian winner of the Visionary category wins a trophy, a Canson Infinity voucher valued at $250, and the title of 2024 Australian Visionary Photographer of the Year. The international winner of the Visionary category wins a trophy and the title of 2024 International Visionary Photographer of the Year. The Australian winner would go into the running to win the overall Australian Print Photographer of the Year, winning a Nikon Australia voucher valued at $5,000. So what we're going to do first off is do a run through of the digital. It is in no means going to give you an idea of what you're in for, and you are in for a treat. So let's kick it off. Okay, what I'm going to do is get Christopher Ian, Johan van Kaan, Lisa Kurtz, Victoria Mackay and Kelly Brown. If you judges can step up into the panel to start with. Okay, on the panel we have Angela Connor, Christopher Ian, Johan van Kaan, Lisa Kurtz, and Kelly Brown. Okay, so the process is, it may be a little bit slower than you're normally used to in terms of the judging, because some of the pieces, the work that you're going to be seeing will take time for each of you to go through what you're actually looking at. So those in the audience at home, just be aware that there may be a little bit of silence or gaps in between a new piece of work coming through and the time it takes for judges to actually score the work. So let's kick it off, and we'll have...
Sorry, can I just ask a question?
One question, Johan.
Yes. Are we also judging the physical presentation, as in framing?
You are judging it as a whole piece of work. The work must have been captured within the last... Sorry, the work can have been produced any time but produced in the last... It doesn't actually say that. In the last 2 years. It is the same as, yeah. So within the last 2 years created, yeah. If you wish to have the lights turned off at any stage, please ask. If you feel it's going to give you a better viewing of the work that you're going to be looking at. Okay? Okay, we'll have the first entry. So just a reminder for those out in the audience and online is that we've got our awards ceremony coming up tomorrow. So it is not being live streamed. So if you think you might be a finalist or you just want to come in and enjoy the event, do come along. Tickets are available online. So the statement for this event, this piece of work, the mountain climber is a traditional wet plate collodion image. Man has always sought to challenge himself physically, and the reasons to climb are many and varied, from simply the love of challenge to the benefits of getting closer to nature. What's happened? And we have a score of 84. And we have, that is a solid silver award. Yeah. Good one in the audience there. So we do have a challenge from Johan van Kaan, and he's immediately put his hand up. So I'm going to get you to speak.
Right. This image in itself, the photographic element on its own, is strong, it's moody, it's atmospheric, it's concise, it's constructed. But then there's the genius of attaching it to a rock. And that for me took it from some low silver somewhere to a gold. It reflects so well the sense of place for this image. And it gives you a true sense of the feeling of climbing and the risks and all those things. So I think there's quite a strong, let's say, visionary element to this. That's more than just the image. That the rock is shaped in the form of a mountain. All these other things that come into it. Yeah. Tough.
So Johan, you scored it 92.
I scored it 92, yes.
And I'm going to go to Lisa, who was down the other end on 78.
So I was a little harsh, Johannes, in the sense that I felt it was just a little didactic. There wasn't room then. I know that it belongs on a rock. I know that that human belongs on a rock. And I felt that, pardon the pun, I didn't need the sledgehammer aspect of it, that there was a rock there. But I'm hearing you and I appreciate what you've said. I think it could have stood on its own. I actually think that's quite a beautiful image and perhaps didn't need the structural support. But I'm coming from a really conceptual background, but I've heard, okay? I've heard.
Christopher, Angela, by all means, you are in that sort of middle range.
Yeah, so I scored 80, and I want to echo your sentiments, Lisa. I felt it was, while I appreciate the juxtaposition with the rock and the print, I thought it was a little predictable by putting the rock in the background. And I also, I thought it was just a little bit too predictable and like a sledgehammer. Yep.
Kelly, you've got something you'd like to say?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm on 86, so I'm listening to go up into that next scoring range. I appreciate your comments about the rock. However, what I'm really enjoying is the texture in the actual print that matches, it mirrors that beautiful texture in the rock. I think the artist has actually done a very good job at selecting the right rock to help frame this. And those beautiful textures have been incorporated within the print. I am at a high silver, I am listening. However, one thing that, and I'm not a rock climber, so I don't know the different types of body positions that rock climbers put themselves into, but I think for me, to take it up into that next scoring range, I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of a dynamic sort of, I suppose, lift of the chin towards the top of the rock, like they are really scaling height, and a little bit more strength, I suppose, in the arms, because that bottom arm, I'm not seeing all of the arm. So I don't know, maybe a little bit more of a clench or a little bit more of a look up or something like that. I don't know if someone else can help me in that area, but yeah, I am loving the actual presentation of this.
And Johan, write a reply back to you.
Right, not being a rock climber either, I would assume that you'd be watching where you put your feet. The image itself is strong, it's super, it's textural. I love the imperfection across the bottom of the image. It's almost like a breakaway, and it represents an element of danger, even if you're going to get spiritual about it. But I didn't write it down. Come with me up to 92 if you can, or just climb a little higher.
Thank you, Johan. Judges, please rescore. Johan, yours is held, your score's held. And we have 86, so good talking. And we'll have the next entry, please. While we do that, I'm going to hand it back to David to carry on with this category.
Thank you. before you put in your score. Eyes of a Photographer is a self-portrait addressing issues of ageing. It is created by contact printing a negative onto an arum lily and exposing in sunlight for just over 2 weeks. The image is not fixed or permanent and fades and deteriorates when exposed to light. Absolutely, absolutely. So the artist statement reads, Eyes of a Photographer is a self-portrait addressing issues of ageing. It is created by contact printing a negative onto an arum lily and exposing it in sunlight for just over 2 weeks. The image is not fixed or permanent and fades and deteriorates when exposed to light. Thank you, judges. I've only got 3 of 5 scores at the moment, and everybody's looking at me like they have got scores in. Okay, maybe we've got a techo side, this side of the fence. Let me just sort of reboot that. Excuse me, just give me one moment. Indeed, we have a score of 83, Silver Award. Congratulations. But, Kelly Brown would like to discuss this further with a challenge. Kelly has scored 92. Kelly,
Absolutely.
Let me just tell you, you're working with...
Yep, I knew the
You
minute
got
I
it?
entered my score that I would be up with the challenge, and you know me.
2 low 80s.
I love a challenge.
2 70s. Go for it, Kelly.
Do you know, this challenged me, this presentation. It's been printed on a lily. Have a look at the texture in the paper here, and it's been exposed for 2 weeks. We've gone full circle. This is where photography started. And now look at what we pick up and use every day. The appreciation, I think, for this and the fact that it's a self-portrait, who does that? Who has the patience? I want to reward the photographer for going back to why we do what we do. I see a lot in those eyes. I see the beautiful texture of the lily in the presentation that we've got here in front of us that challenges us because it's not something that we see often. But if you look at the eyes under the light and how the light changes, and we think about the description of what we heard in the artist statement, it says a lot, and those eyes are sharp for a 2-week exposure. Like, that's masterful. You think about the description and your scoring criteria of what a 90 is. I don't need to read it out to you because you've all got it on your cards. I really, really, really want to see my fellow judges reinterpret this and appreciate photography for what it is presented in front of us.
Thank you. Christopher Ian. Can I come to you, please, at 78?
The thing that held me back was that the description says it's meant to be the evolution of ageing. Is that the way it runs?
Let's just read the eyes, self-portrait, addressing the issues of ageing.
Yeah, so I look at Ajay, who deliberately photographed on printout papers that faded, and we love them today because they're half faded. They're not as rich as what he saw. So compared to an Ansel Adams, we can see ageing. Here, it's too fresh. I'd love him to have let them fade a little bit and then presented them.
I'd like to hear from Angela Connor, please. You're there at 84. If you're okay, I can. If you don't, that's okay. Just say no. I haven't got anything to add at the moment.
No, I mean, I like this work and I appreciate the concepts behind this work, and I'll probably change my score and back you on some of the things you said. And I appreciate the artist statement that went along with it. I thought it was really thoughtful and.
Okay, Johannes, can I hear from you, please? Because you're in the silver range, and we're talking about potentially, if we're going with Kelly's treaty here, she's pitching for gold.
So I don't think I'm going to be adding anything
Okay.
that's useful.
Okay. Okay, Lisa, please.
Just so that Kelly can respond to these. So I love the concept, love where it was going. Who does that? Who exposes on lilies? I think that's wonderful. For me, if the photographer, again, had just presented those prints, I didn't need the technology that goes with that. I felt that undermined the importance of the work. I thought the work could have stood alone, and I felt it was overdone. But I'm listening. I just wanted to flag that with you, that I felt the gaffer tape. I mean, obviously our audience at home can't see that. And the fact that we engage with the work, we press the power on and off and we lighten it and darken it. I think there's a lot of conceptual stuff going on, and I just felt that we didn't need the extra stuff. But I'm listening. I was way too low. I appreciate that.
Just go back to Johannes. He's had a moment to collect his thoughts.
Thank you for that. I think the thing that we need to understand about this is that in viewing it, we're killing it, because we're turning on the light and deteriorating it more. And every time we press that button, and we all did multiple times, we took a little bit of life away from that image, which actually then reinforces the artist's statement about aging. So I only gave it, I don't know, an 82 or something. And I'm going up.
82,
because,
you are at currently. Yeah. Kelly's going to have a writer reply.
Yes. That's all I need to say to that is yes. And I'm just going to go to my scoring criteria here and just read the first line: exceptional visual and emotional impact. And then when we think about how every time we push that button it deteriorates, our eyesight deteriorates with age. And as photographers, if we don't have our eyesight, we can't see and appreciate photography. I want to appreciate what the artist has presented to us, gaff tape and all, because I don't know how else you'd do that.
Okay, Kelly's score of 92 is locked in. I'd ask my other 4 judges to please take that all on, and rescore as you see fit.
Sorry, Dave, I'm just having a technical glitch. Just one sec.
Sure.
I'm about to score now.
Print now scores 88. Very, very high silver. Substantial movement. No, excellent debate. Okay. Thank you, judges. As I say, sometimes it's not even about the score. Sometimes it's about the debate. There's the education in those comments. That's the. Let me just check this for a moment. Can I? Just holding for a moment. Sorry, just trying to make sure this piece correlates with the thumbnail. Okay, no, we're good. We're good to go. Okay, so I'll read you the statement here, judges. Oxygen Man is a view of the future where the value of plant life reaches far beyond visual enjoyment. Global deforestation and warming needs to be taken seriously now. Absolutely. Oxygen Man is a view of the future where the value of plant life reaches far beyond the visual enjoyment. Global deforestation and warming needs to be taken seriously now. Okay, we all in? I've got Johan's, got Christopherians, Kelly's. Thinking. We have a score of 87, silver, but I know we're not done, are we? Not by a long shot. Kelly Brown on 94.
I knew this category would get me excited.
Yes. And
All
so,
right.
you know, you got an idea of, you're working with everybody else in the 80s and some in the high 80s. So, yep. You can mount your challenge there, Kelly, please.
Yeah, wow. I'm challenged by this because as judges, you know, this is new, this is unique, this is visionary, this is storytelling. It has impact. We all reacted to it. There's creativity. The exposure is brilliant. The printing is sharp. The presentation of the dome, the globe, I'm looking for the right word here for that, but it's almost preserving it. Do you know what I mean? We're talking about preserving life right now. We have so many things going on in our world that are going to impact who knows what we're going to be living like in the next 10 to 20 years. And I think that the way that this has been presented to us in a way that it preserves it just creates even more impact and adds to the storytelling of it. But the print quality for me, I'm a photographer, I'm all about printing, and when I look at a print like this and I see those tiny little silos on the right-hand bottom side of this print and how sharp and clear they are, for me to be able to see them, wow, like I'm at 94. Let's do this.
Lisa, can I hear from you, please, at 82?
I think I'm coming again from the perspective that the print itself is exquisite, okay? What's inside the bell jar, whatever we're going to call that, is exquisite. I know conceptually it's to represent, you know, the preservation, the capturing of the moment. I actually love the idea that we can see the faux hill, you know, behind it. Like, that's been done really well. What our viewers can't see is that we've got some sticky tape that's holding the bell jar and its bottom together, and I have no issue with sticky tape, like I had no issue with gaffer tape, if it serves a conceptual purpose. No, I really firmly believe that. I'm all about the concept. And I feel that the photographer, this was one of those works, or the artist, but this was one of those works that to just get a bit of extra feedback would have resolved this into something like the high gold, you know, like something we don't normally see. So I feel it was a brilliant first attempt. I'm listening though, I was low, but the print itself is lovely. Okay, I really, really, really enjoy the print for all the reasons you said, and the fact that I can see through it because of its translucency. So I'm almost there.
Okay, we're going to go to Johannes. He was there right at 85, a solid silver.
Right, I gave it 85. I love all those things that you saw in there. I love the translucence. I love the sense of desolation. But I'm a little bit frustrated by the scale. I wanted it to be bigger because it's a bigger problem than that. And that's just a little bit too small for me. And I feel that the interpretation or the visionary aspect, which is everything, wasn't quite there with the sense of scale. It needed me to be able to feel that. At the moment, I just see it.
Okay, I'd like to hear from Christopher Ian, if we could. Christopher Ian, because you're at 88, you know, you're getting to that high top end of silver, you know.
Well, as has already been said, I love this category because it's mystical. I would never have. The originality is brilliant. It's beyond me. I was wondering, was it in reverse? Because the image we've got here is different. It has nothing to do with the final concept. The idea that the photo, as my friend said, get down to street level, get right down there, and it becomes 3D. Because from here, it doesn't. You've got to get really down, and like a train railway set, you've got to get down amongst the passengers waiting at the platform and watch the train come in to have that believability. This is extraordinary. I gave it 8 out. I was probably gutless.
Can I just offer a word of guidance on what you're seeing on your phone? It's just the representation only that they can enter online at that stage, and obviously this is just to give us a cue here. Let's judge the piece before us, and we'll... No.
All right, so in terms of my right of reply, I do appreciate the comment here on the sticky tape, but that's why I'm at 94 and not at 100. Like, our scoring criteria here, when we think about a superior level of technique, skill, image quality, the image quality is sublime. The fact that we are looking at something that has a 3D quality to it. And yes, I would love to see this bigger because it is a big problem. However, I've never printed on that material before or created anything like this. And I would imagine that trying to ship a large dome here with dirt in it would be quite the task. But there's so much thought into this, and I think that when we want to reward a superior level of technique, an original narrative, a concept, something that's been delivered to us that's so different, we have to reward that. We've got to go with it and use our full scoring range. I implore you to please join me in the wonderful gold category that this deserves.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we lock Kelly's scoring of 94. Our other 4 judges, please take on all that information. See how that recalibrates your scores, and please enter them. Would you like to change your score? I can zap it if you wish.
Sorry, mine's not scoring, so I'll just... Oh, there we go.
You okay, Johannes?
I hope so. Let's try this.
Take your time. Yep, just take it easy. Yep, you're okay. You delete that. Yep, okay, great, thank you. And there we are. 89, the highest of silvers.
Every point counts.
Every point counts. That's right, the top 5 go through to finalist. So every point counts. Thank you, judges. Sorry? The one? Yep, yep. Yes, every point counts, and every word counts here. You know, we're getting feedback. You know, not only to the entrant but to the community. You know, so exceptionally valuable. We thank Cants on Infinity for sponsoring this category. Okay, let me read you the statement while you're taking in this work. I chanced upon a burnt tree. I rubbed my journal against the trunk to make an impression. Frontage, making a mask, the border you see here. Using multiple exposure mode in camera, I took a photo of my new mask and the subject that contributed to it, this tree. Would you like me to read that again? Because that's, yeah, I'm getting some nods there. I chanced upon a burnt tree. I rubbed my journal against the trunk to make an impression. Frontage is what it says, making a mask, the border you see here. Using multiple exposure mode in camera, I took a photo of my new mask and the subject contributed to it, this tree. Might be frontage, might be frottage. Just frottage, frottage. Sure. I chanced upon a burnt tree. I rubbed my journal against the trunk to make an impression. Frottage, making of a mask, the border you see here, using multiple exposure mode in camera. I took a photo of the new mask and the subject contributed to it, this tree. No, you're good. You're good. One more score. And we get a score of 79. Yes. Christopher Ian at 84 may challenge and is going to take an elective challenge here. You've got another judge in 80s, 82 with you, and everybody else is high 70s there, Christopher.
Look,
please.
apologies to the author, the printmaker. I haven't got my glasses on. It makes it even better because as you come up, the face emerges. There's an anguished face there, an aged, anguished face there, and the eyes and the screwed up lips I saw. And as I got closer, it became very apparent that's what you're trying to show us, is someone that's in agony. It's the tree. It's incredible.
Johannes, can I hear from you, please, at 76?
Yes. I gave it 76 more for photographic issues that I had with the softness of parts of the image, which I felt didn't actually intentionally contribute to the outcome. And it just disappointed me a little bit because I really wanted to be a little bit more, well, crisp and involved. Yeah.
Kelly Brown put it at 82.
I did, and I did really enjoy this. I'm enjoying the colours, the tones, and the texture. But when I do go up, that the issues with the focus, the sharpness, and the consistency throughout the image, for me, are what stopped me from going higher. I do see a little bit of a face. I'm one to look at an image and go, oh, what else is kind of, coming through there? But also just the texture around the edge of it, how it sort of stops in a bit of a straight line. If that had a bit more of a fall off, and a bit more of an organic fall off, that probably would have elevated it for me as well. But I am listening.
Okay, Christopher Ian, your right of reply, please.
There's a legendary life photography photo from the late 40s of a child that's war affected, and it's deliberately, the face is a blur because she just can't stand still during the photo, and that's what's happening here. The anguish is reinforced by the lack of sharpness, the subject movement, as the person rocks backwards and forwards. In this case, it's the tree. I just think it's beautiful. I'm only asking for silver.
Okay, so the print scored 79. It did average 80, but it was 79 by majority. Christopher Ian's score of 84 is locked in at the moment. I'd ask the other four judges now to please rescore the image. Print averaged 80, scores 80, silver award. Congratulations. Excellent. We accept that score and we'll move on to our next image, please. Okay, just letting you know also too, whilst we're getting set up here, the voting for the Steve Scalone Award closes at 4:30, so if you haven't cast your vote yet, now is nearly the hour. We've got about 40 minutes till that closes out. Okay, so just one moment, so John is not the author, he's just here to provide some instructions about this particular piece before you view it.
So there's a little rotating wheel down on this side. There are arrows down on this side to which way to rotate it. Well, obviously we'll need to look at it one at a time because it's a 3D image, go back and forth. The prints are numbered 1 to 4, so knock yourself out. This first. It may well fall apart. Okay? We'll see. Take it back together. They'll push.
Right. Wow. Is the sound effect part of the aesthetic we're taking in? Oh.
Ian, stop.
Yep. Yes, you're halfway through one of 5 judges having their turn engaging with the.
Maybe you operate it.
Okay.
I don't want to be responsible.
Give me a next.
Oh, Kelly, all care but no responsibility, right? Okay, next judge, so would like to have a view, please. How? Okay, we've got a little time, haven't we? Yeah, thank you. Sorry, and I also should, sorry, while you're looking there too, I need to give you the statement. I was somewhat distracted by our device there. So, using techniques of the early 20th century, stereoscopic techniques were valid entertainment before the advent of television. This story is an homage to Benny Hill, and if he were enlisted in the military. Somebody had a cape here today, didn't they? I thought I saw a cape around. Oh yeah, oh no. If we turn the lights out, then it's only a reflective, it's not transmitted.
Yeah, if anybody else wants to have a look with that,
Yep.
it's actually good.
Enhances your viewing experience.
Should the scarf not be over the images though, so that they can be lit best?
The texture of the paper's got a bit of reflection, so it's just these lights up here reflecting on part of the paper.
Little buttons.
So they needed to install lights as well for the viewing experience. Like, come on.
The black just stops the reflection on the paper.
Gotcha.
Johannes, or yep, Angela? Ladies first, absolutely. So while we're waiting, I'll just read that one more time because you're obviously ruminating a score and working that out. So let's just listen to this one more time. Using techniques of the early 20th century, stereoscopic techniques were valid entertainment before the advent of television. This story is an homage to Benny Hill if he were enlisted in the military.
If you were, what, sorry?
If he were enlisted in the military. Okay, we all good with that, judges, for the moment? Here's a viewing what I prepared earlier. Okay, and I'll please enter your scores. I'm not getting you there, Johannes. I'm not getting you. Great, got it. Averaged 80, scored 79 by majority. So that is that, but we have an auto challenge on this.
Yes.
We do, don't we?
Yes, we do.
So you get to speak once
Yes.
to this, and considering that you are perhaps trying to encourage your fellow judges towards the gold mark, I would like to hear from all judges on this piece. This is potentially an intense debate. So get your words together. It's time to talk.
Given that the mechanism is slightly flawed, okay, let's go beyond that. There's a certain amount of craft in creating the elements that make this. The concepts behind it are drawing upon history to also present a historical element with humour. Not 100% convinced in the references within the artist's statement because, well, they differ slightly from what I'm seeing. But at the same time, photographically, it's really strong. The three-dimensionality is very enjoyable. And the element of surprise in what you end up with is good. And I think the strength in that works towards giving it a higher score than just an 80. I gave it a 90. See what you can do.
Okay, Christopher Ian, I'm going to work our way down our judge panel. Everybody is speaking, please.
The imagery doesn't match the era that you're reflecting, and also the images themselves for a photographic prize, they're not substantial enough to get me over and convinced. I do love your ingenuity. Just try it with a different subject.
Lisa, please.
I really appreciated the ability to engage with the work like we did. I loved the mechanism. I felt that and loved the experience of pulling the black sheet over your head and things like that. That was really enjoyable. With you, Christopher Ian, that I felt that the material itself, I did have a giggle, and that was always nice. I think humour is a way we undervalue humour in photography to engage us. So I appreciated that, but I just wanted something deeper, and I wanted something more for the mechanism. And I wanted it to refer to why would. I agree, slightly out of era. Perhaps it was close, but not close enough for me to at that time. I'm listening.
Okay, Angela.
I scored it at 78, but so obviously I found it difficult to view the images through that mechanism. But I did appreciate the 4 images and referencing back to the Benny Hill, so that filmic sequence. So I really liked that about and the black and white images of it. Yeah.
Okay, Kelly for the last word.
Yeah, I think I was the bad guy here because I originally put in a score and then I changed my score. And I changed my score because of everything that's been mentioned here. I really wanted to go higher because I felt like I was being taken back on a journey, and it was an incredible experience. But I feel like when we are creating something and we're presenting something to a panel of judges, we've got to take into consideration everything. And the fact that I had to use my own scarf to block out some of that reflective light to be able to see the prints, because it's a photography competition, to be able to see them more clearly, that's what made me change my score. Had that have been taken into consideration, prior to this, my score would have remained a little higher. But because I had to help the viewing experience for a photography competition, that's what held me back. But I am listening.
Okay.
Well, I have listened to
we
everyone
have
else's
listened.
comments.
So As an automatic challenge, I'm afraid, everybody only gets to speak once, but all scores may now be rescored, including Johannes. So, would all judges please rescore this piece, these images, including device? Still didn't get yours. Oh, yeah, here it is, mate. No, thank you. 79, high silver. Congratulations. Oh, sorry, highly commended, I should say. Correctly. Congratulations. There's a lot of learning by all done in that piece. I think that's exceptional. All right. Okay. Okay, judges, I'm going to read you a statement, please. The collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble and then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. Absolutely. The collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble and then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. It does. The caption matches the image. Thank you, judges. Christopher, are you in there? Thank you. Score is 81. Silver award. Congratulations. May I have a comment, please, on the piece? Anybody? I will volunteer. Somebody. Kelly, thank you. At 80.
So just reread the last sentence in that artist thing.
Sure. Last sentence. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new.
Does anyone else see a horse? Yes. How clever, right? Momentarily there's a horse. In another split second there would have been something else. I think that this is a wonderful presentation of something very, very different, and I think the photographer should continue to explore this medium because it's quite captivating, and I could see this printed even bigger on someone's wall.
Thank you. And we will go to our next print, please. Speaking of printing, we thank Canson Infinity for being the category sponsor. We thank Nikon for being our overall sponsor. Some very deserved photographer is going to win $5,000 towards some new piece of Nikon kit. Okay, so I'm going to read you the statement. Now the piece is up there. It has exactly the same caption as the last image, but I'll read it again because it's relevant to this piece and you'll know maybe we're seeing something here, okay? The collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble, then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. Just trying to put a little bit of a wedge there just to get that. Yeah, but it's not going to stay. Yeah, if it stays up there. Okay, that's okay. Let's leave it there. Okay, that last score. Thank you. $76. Highly commended. Congratulations. Who would like to talk to me about this particular? Thank you, Lisa.
Love the colours, love the palette, love the energy. I think when we move into the realm of the abstract, we need to have something, we have to have a way into the image for us. And I think having beautiful swirls it's lovely and it's pleasing, but there needs to be another mechanism to engage us and to bring us on a journey through that work. I've just encouraged the photographer to just think about what that mechanism could be. Otherwise, we just simply review or judge an image based on colour, composition, all the formal qualities. We don't get that emotional connection.
Great. I saw one or two nods there in complete agreement. Thank you. And we'll move on to our next print, please. Has exactly the same caption as the last two pieces. I'm more than happy to read it again, should you wish. While our judges are deliberating, just a reminder that tomorrow morning at 9:30, Kelly Barker is running a workshop with your creative process workshop. Explore the creative process and harness the power of your subconscious in our dynamic workshop. Tickets available on the Australian Photographic Prize website. Print scores 79, highly commended. No. Christopher Ian would like to talk about this. Not just talk, he's challenging. He's at 85. You've got another judge in the 80s with you there, Christopher Ian. Another judge is in high 70s. Please start.
Firstly, if the author or the designer of this print is here, here you've actually achieved what you've asked us to believe. It is what it says, but the shapes are actually recognisable. It's got everything to do with Krieger and the alien that was later adopted in the film series. It's fantastic. And your printing technique reinforces the metallic nature of this fossil that will spring to life and be horrible. It's even got the vicious eyes. It's as though it's the embryo of the alien. It's a beautiful match of technique and printing stock, and I can absolutely see it here.
I'd like to go to Angela Connor, please, at 75.
I do have a question.
No, you do have a question?
Yes.
I don't know if I can answer that, but ask
How
away.
many times can the artist enter, like a print? Like if these have the same...
I don't think there's a limitation on that process because these are each individual entries you presented. You weren't presented as a collection. That's my interpretation of that. But we'll take that on notice. But we're judging the print as accepted into the competition. You know, it's been vetted, it's been accepted. So you judge it for what you see.
Yeah.
We'll take.
So my next point is, it's hard if it has the same artist statement to not compare it to the ones that are prior to the prints. So when I'm looking at these prints, this is not a criticism at all. I'm just like, this is how I'm viewing the work. So if it has the same artist statement, I naturally start comparing them to the ones before. And so you started with this really beautiful, gentle work that was with red swirls, and you thought about the horse, and then you went to this more aggressive, like with the colour palette, and that was a little bit harder to get into. And then you went to this third print, which is something completely different in itself. So I guess that was my question or my comment.
So I would ask you as a judge, though, to judge this as a separate piece.
Yeah.
Because the person may choose to put the same caption, they may choose to make a unique statement each time.
Yeah.
Let's judge it as an individual piece, and we'll keep going there. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Kelly, can I get a comment, please, at 77?
Absolutely. I saw the alien too, you know, which is quite sort of fascinating here, that shape. For me, from a judging perspective, in terms of a print and what I'm looking here, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more detail in those highlights that are just blown out there on the sort of in the middle of the image there on the body of the alien, so to speak. And perhaps if we're going to capture something like this, a different depth of field so that we have, you know, sharpness throughout the whole image. We've got some bubbles nice and sharp, some a little soft, and we've got full control over that. So for me, I suppose to be taken a little bit more on the journey, and I suppose an underwater journey, so to speak, a little bit more control in terms of the exposure and the printing as well could have brought me up higher.
Thank you, Kelly. Christopher, you have a right of reply.
The Swiss illustrator Krieger, who originally drew this, had to find an object which terrified and had no background history. That's why the arrangement of the head size is what the child in the sack looks like, only it's a monster. That bright cord is the umbilical cord. You've absolutely achieved what I think you were trying before, to give us imagery which we interpret from a happenstance.
Thank you, Christopher. We're going to lock your score in at 85. I'm asking our other 4 judges to please now take all that in and rescore. Thank you. Print scores 79. Stays there. No, thank you very much. We'll go to our next print, please. While sometimes we are frustrated as judges if it doesn't move, again, that dialogue, and you know, as an entrant, I've been on the other side of the fence there too, where you go, it still resonated with the judge, you know, and sometimes it's about that too. Okay. Once it's up, I'll read you the statement once you can see the piece. Splash, underwater cyanotype on cotton rag. Cyanotype lending itself to perfectile to the exploration of the creative underwater work. I'll read it one more time. I can see questions coming out today. Splash, underwater cyanotype on cotton rag. Cyanotype lending itself perfectile to the exploration of creative underwater work.
Sorry, what's that word?
So it's perfect, L-E, perfectal. Perfectal? Perfectly? Perfectly, yes. Perfectly. I got caught on one of the... So you'd like to step off of this, Christopher?
I know practitioners for
Okay.
want to judge their work.
Can I get you to step up to this one, please, Liz? Thank you. Yeah, perfectly makes much more sense, doesn't it? I try and read it legit, word for word, and got caught before. You know, there are some processes here I'm certainly not familiar with, but so I'll read it one more time. No, it's okay. Let's go with that. Average was 79, but it gets an 80 by majority. Congratulations. Silver award. Right on that. Can I get a comment? Who would like to talk to this? Thank you, Angela. At 84. Thank you. So what is the silver?
I scored this at 84. I really thought this was a beautiful print and the composition is good, and I really liked how the artist had chosen to use a cyanotype. I liked the circular motion of it as well, that sort of references a splash, and it's really beautiful, the abstract nature of it. I really enjoyed this piece.
Thank you. Take that and we accept that. And we'll go to our next print, please. Okay, slight pause. And then I'll talk again. No. Okay, so while we're waiting, I did mention that also tomorrow, so we mentioned about the Kelly Barker workshop. There is also a Nathan Madigan workshop tomorrow from 9 till 11 on how stories work, a storytelling masterclass for artists in business. So tickets also available on the Australian Photographic Prize website. And then tomorrow afternoon between 2 and 4, starting, as I say, at 2, join our expert panel led by Tony Hewitt as they discuss AI and our photographic futures, and also image to legacy, establishing your photographic legacy. It's included in the awards ceremony ticket. Tickets are available again on the Photographic Prize website. So we are using a multitude of magnets here. Please disregard the magnet's shape or size or whatever it is. It is not part of the art piece, okay? So let me read you the statement that runs with this. In the digital age, modern life's pressures reveal themselves through visible achievements while concealing deeper complexities and unseen struggles that profoundly shape our experiences. Are we good? I'm taking this into, I'm going to read it one more time out loud, just for all concerned. In the digital age, modern life's pressures reveal themselves through visible achievements while concealing deeper complexities and unseen struggles that profoundly shape our experiences. Okay. I think there was some... One more score. Score is 74. Commended. Johannes van Kaan at... Oh, sorry, you accept that score? Okay, we're going to accept that score there. I would like a comment on the piece, please. Who would offer me a score? Can I go to you, Christopher, again? You're at 74, right on the average there. Can you speak to piece, please?
I really couldn't find where your caption met this photo. This photo is attractive to look at, but your caption, and it didn't seem to gel. We don't need to be led there, obviously, but even getting up close, there's no subtlety there to tell us what you meant.
Okay, thank you. We'll accept that score, and we will go to our next image, please.
Remove the 45 magnets.
Yes, so another extended pause. Okay. Can we just go? Yes, back on, please. Okay, the statement for this piece. When kids role play, imagination runs wild. A construction site becomes a planet to be saved. Children will always win the battle. Yep. No, you're okay. Would you like me to read it again? Okay. When kids role play, imagination runs wild. A construction site becomes a planet to be saved. Children will always win the battle. Thank you, judges. This print has scored 78, highly commended. Congratulations. Johannes van Kaan at 83 is going to challenge. Johannes, you've got another judge with you in the 80s and everybody else in the mid-70s.
Right. I'm just going to talk about the thing I don't like first. I really don't like the presentation. I think the presentation does not help me with it. However, if I took the sides off and was left with the black frame, there is something gold about that, something very gold. So I'm not going to punish it by taking it down into a lower standard, because I think that the photographic element is incredibly fun, incredibly well done, and so meaningful for children and adults who want to be children. And yeah, that's where I rest.
Okay. I'd like to hear from Kelly Brown, please.
Oh,
Kelly,
I gave it 83, by the way.
Yes, you did. And Kelly's at 75 currently.
Yeah, I think for me the presentation was what kept me down, and I appreciate the complexities of printing like this and being able to present a photograph like that. But again, when I come back to the actual photograph itself, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more, I suppose, separation between the three children that are there and that construction site. So even capturing this I don't know, even dressing them in a different sort of contrasting sort of wardrobe to make them stand out a little bit more. I'm not sure, but even a lower perspective, a more creative perspective, as opposed to kind of just standing there at the same eye level as the kids to capture this. So getting a little bit more creative with your perspective could have created something a little bit more impactful, perhaps. Yeah.
That's good.
Listen.
Can I go to Lisa though at the moment, please? Because Lisa, you were there at 80, so you just popped into silver there. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this image, please.
Look, I'm sure my trend this afternoon, I've been very much on the image, the whole presentation. And I just walked up and I'm like, oh, I can't score that in the silver. I just can't. And then I looked at the photo and I thought, that photo is almost strong enough to outweigh. And then I tried to find a conceptual reason for the swirly bits on the side, and I thought, is it about childhood? Is it a storybook? I wasn't quite sure. So my score was really about the image itself, so I could have gone either way. Okay, the image itself I think is beautiful, but the overall work doesn't stand up.
Angela, would you like to make a quick comment? And then we'll go back to Johannes for his right of reply.
I want to say something similar to you, Lisa. I can forgive what is around the image because the image is so strong, but I do think that it's a really beautiful image and I really enjoy it, but I probably think it would have been stronger without the construction arm on the side there. Yeah.
Christopher Ian, really quickly.
Yes, I just want this to be more impactful by having a child sitting in the cradle of the chore, so they're rescuing him and stabbing it.
And yet we have the image before us, and we'll take a look at that. Yes, no. Johannes, your right of reply, please.
Right. This mechanical dragon is about to eat these children. Now, children don't necessarily get fully involved in drama, but they do play act. And this is very much a play acting situation. And you can see that they're there in a play acting kind of way. The scale is given greater strength by the space above them, so you know they're small against this great creature. I had a look at the back of the box, and it's a play box. It's not anything else. And so that gave perhaps more significance to the presentation. And the presentation is what you might expect from a child who's decorating something, and I'm not criticizing the form or the presentation as such, but it represents the presence of children in this photograph. So I think in retrospect that we've all been a little bit unkind because we didn't like the presentation. So I only gave it an 83, and I'm stuck with that. So help me.
Obi-Wan, yes. Okay, so Johannes' score of 83 is locked in, and our other four judges may now enter a new score, or the same score, as they may see fit. 82, silver award. Very insightful. Okay, let's move on to our, I say next image, and I guess they're all image-based, but who knows what's coming? Okay, let me read you the statement before you get into this. Okay. There are often times when we would all like to opt out of society and seek solitude. Alone on a hill is a wet plate collodion image created to give that sense of being alone. I'll do it one more time while you're maybe having a look there, just so you can digest that statement and see how that influences. There are often times when we would all like to opt out of society and seek solitude. Alone on a hill is a wet plate collodion image created to give that sense of being alone. Image scores 81. Silver award. May I have a comment? Who would like to help me with a comment right here? Okay. Johannes, you were right on 81. I'm going to ask you, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just am totally enamoured by the process. What I would have loved to have seen would have been the repeated element of the structure that's holding the image being the same as the structure within the image. Although it would have been quite obvious, it would have actually given a bit more strength, I feel.
Okay, thank you. We'll accept that score and we will go on to our next image. You want me to turn this one on too? Okay. Okay, so it's going to be viewed here, or we're putting it up there on the... Okay, right, okay, that's how we're going to have to do that. Okay, so this piece, while we're here, just the way it is, it needs to be viewed under light. I'm going to actually ask you to hold the piece in place as each person can go up, hold the piece. That's about... We'll give you some gloves. Let me read you the statement, so once you get started there. Okay, visionary is a 3D lithophane. Viewing the image with bright light directly behind is optimal. The depth of the 3D print determines, the tones. So visionary is a 3D lithophane. Viewing the image with bright light directly behind is optimal. The depth of the 3D print determines the tones. Hold on, I'm just going to read it one more time because I think this is such a, piece just so you know what you're saying and then how that may relate to the statement, and bring it together. Visionary is a 3D lithophane. Viewing the image with bright light behind directly is optimal. The depth of the 3D print determines the tones. This image scores 85, but we have an automatic challenge here. Kelly Brown is at 98, taking it as an automatic challenge. Automatic challenge, being 13 marks off the average, the monstrous laugh, or at least put up here forward by
So
Kelly.
if this is an automatic challenge, there's no right of reply.
That's right.
Do
Would
I
you-
need to speak first?
We did do that. We could take
Can
this
I
as
speak last? Because it's an automatic challenge. I'm not challenging it. I don't need to speak.
She needs to address what other people's fears.
Okay, let's do it. Okay, can we start then with Angela, please? You're at 80. Oh, sorry. No, we'll start with Lisa. I'm sorry. Lisa was at 78. Is that correct? Yes. That's okay. This is a challenging piece, and that's why we've got a diverse range of scores, you know? So please, speak to the piece.
I felt that the technique was very, very strong, but the subject matter, the colour of the mat, the crop, the actual photographic element or the visual element of it, the technique outweighed the strength of the underlying work itself, and so this image became about the technique, which was cool. I liked that, but I couldn't understand why that technique was used for that subject matter. Why use that for that particular image?
Okay. Angela, can I get you to... You agree with that? Okay. Johannes, you were next there on the score, and then I'm going to get Christopher in, and then Kelly can close out the...
I gave this an 82, and I gave it an 82 for the photographic content versus so for the process versus the photographic content. I didn't gain anything from the content, but I was in complete admiration of the process, where it educates us that darkness is the absence of light, and the thickness or the density of what the material that we're looking at created the absence of light, which was coming from behind. And so that process is intriguing, but I felt that the photograph didn't shine, and it didn't want me to keep looking, even though it was eyes. Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to Christopher in, because Christopher scored it at 88, a high silver.
Yes, I thought that I'd actually have to justify my low score. There was an ooh, and the people behind can't appreciate this, but there was an ooh and an ah when it hit a certain point where the woman in the hijab became part of the hieroglyphic. She became part of the rock structure. She all of a sudden had 3D dimensions as if she'd been carved into rock. And the way that people view these things, rock carvings, is they put a torch to the side and all of a sudden what looks like just scratches jump. And it had that effect. How you predict this thing, I have no idea. But the woman in her hijab became masonry.
Kelly, please close out this debate.
Do you know, I can count on one hand how many times I've typed a score like 98 into my keypad. And I've been judging for a really long time. That's not to say my score is better than anyone else's, because we're all seeing something very different here. But what I do want to talk about here is those eyes. When you said about coming from, what did you say about coming from the light into the dark, or from the dark into the light? So we're seeing eyes behind fabric. And for me, it's got a very desert nature to it, a very desolate nature. And those eyes have a level of sadness in them. So when I think about, and that's all I was drawn to, every time I moved it back and forth under the light, and I looked at how the light reacted to the distance that it was from the actual 3D print, I was continually captivated by the eye. And for me, seeing the fabric covering the face and how there are women that often have to hide behind the fabric, there's something here in terms of the connection with the desperation in that eye. within the look, and it's captivating, and I think it's a really bold choice for the photographer or the artist, sorry, to only present that very small part of the face. But it's got impact. When we look at our scoring criteria, and I don't give 98 easily, but this ticked all the boxes for me. I was captivated by something in her eye, and it was the light that took me to the eye.
Okay.
I would love for my fellow photographer panel here to award this appropriately.
So, being an automatic challenge and Kelly only speaking once, all scores may now be re-entered. Everybody has the right to rescore here. Please rescore. $88, really high silver. It came up. It came up. Thank you, judges. Take a moment, take a breath. Okay, let me just read you the statement here. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. This is a quote. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. Leonardo da Vinci, an attempt to not only capture her beauty, but also to present it as open and as fresh as I found it. I'll read it one more time. Nature is the source of all true knowledge. This is attributed to Leonardo da Vinci. An attempt to not only capture her beauty, but to also present it as open and fresh as I found it. Print scores 76, highly commended. Who offers me a comment on this piece? Okay, Kel? Thank you, Kelly. 77.
I enjoy the quote to Leonardo da Vinci, and I think that the photographer has done a great job at presenting something a little different, a little unique for us. However, I would love to encourage the photographer to go back and explore this technique a little more, perhaps with possibly a different subject. And when it comes to adding a border or a frame around such bold colours like that, perhaps try to match those, mirror those colours a little bit more, or use something a little less, I suppose, contrasty. It's taking away from the flowers themselves with that particular frame.
Okay, Kelly. Thank you very much. And we will have our next piece, please. Do we need more magnets, or is it going to hold?
We're going to hold it.
Okay, so let me read you the statement on this piece. The work and traditions of forestry workers is highly respected in regional areas and this image has been created using an emulsion lift and transferred to brass plate. Sure.
Just try lifting it up a bit.
Okay. 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 Don't breathe. So before your scores go in, I'll just read it one more time because I sort of think it's the work and traditions of forestry workers is highly respected in regional areas, and this image has been created using an emulsion lift and transfer to brass plate. Printer scored 80, silver award. Congratulations. Can I ask you for a comment there, please, Christopher Ann? You were right on 80 there.
Yes, so I really did love this photo, especially when the judge got the lighting right, which is a problem with these images. You've got to have the lighting right to see the detail there. When wet collodion is attempted or something of an age process, it's always a little bit more successful if it looks like a found object, and that you use the shift element of a view camera to create elements which drag you to one point or another. Here, everything is sharp. Right down, you can read the writing on that blade, the person's face, the dead trees in the background, which is fantastic. But it would have looked so much better if there was a shift element which took you from blur to focus back to blur.
Can I make a comment on presentation?
Please, Kelly.
Is that all right?
Yes.
The chainsaw itself is the photograph. Do you know what I mean? Like, this man is holding a chainsaw, he's cutting down trees. For me, from a presentation perspective, I don't think the circular blade goes with this photograph. So perhaps going back and revisiting it, because I'm continually taken to the blade and out of the print itself. I would have loved to have seen this presented a little bit more simply.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you. Print installation handlers. Got it right. That's the right orientation. No, you're all right. I know you're just triple checking. I'll read it again because it's been a little while. But it is: the collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble, then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. Where are you on your score, Johannes? You're okay? Yep, you are swapping seats. Thank you. Printer scored 79, but we're going to have a challenge. Johannes van Kaan is on 88. You have another judge in the 80s with you at 80 there. You've also got 78, 76 and a 73. Please, Johannes.
Right.
Thank you.
As a colour, as a palette of colours, it's representing opposites and cools and hots and all manner of things. And I'm not sure what the technical word is for associating a visual image or a visual interpretation of something over something, like seeing something within. But that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing a forest fire with the smoke. And then I'm seeing one of those wonderful aerial photographs that photographers do, showing the land and the water, and then there's this fire in the middle. And for me, that makes me feel something. And it gives me something to hang on to when I'm looking at this image. And at the same time, I really enjoy the colours. They make me feel something. And it's not the feeling of danger or fire or anything like that, but excitement. So I gave it a 88.
Christopher N on 73. Can I get you to speak to the printer, please?
Thank you.
Johannes, play nicely.
I think one of the judges said earlier, which was pretty switched on, we've got to judge what we see in front of us, because I'm going back to aerials. I love the top left corner, the tiny bit of scattered data as detail there. It's just overwhelmed by the swirls at the base and the colours. I just think if you stuck to very simple tones, like there's a yellow, tiny bit of blue, that's where you're really winning.
Lisa, can I hear from you, please? Because you're at 80 on silver there.
Yeah, look, I felt very Arthur Boyd-ish. You know, I looked at this colour palette and I could engage with it. I found a way into an image in the abstract space. I would have liked to have seen a different paper stock. And perhaps even, I'm not even sure the square crop. But look, I found a way in and I responded to the colour palette. So yes, I'll pass it on.
Okay, I'm going to go back to Johannes for his right of reply, please.
I think in our own ways, all of us can find our own way into this and can enjoy the playfulness of the swirls, can enjoy the colours that are stimulating our brains in different ways. And then if we hang it on a thing, you know, whether it's we see a fire, whether it's we see an aerial landscape, whether it's we see horses running in paddocks, whatever it is, if we attach to that and then attach love to that attachment, you will end up with a score like 88.
So, currently scoring 79, we lock in Johannes' score of 88. And our other four judges may now rescore this print, please. Little love it gets at 81, silver award. Congratulations, we'll have our next image, please, next print. You're all right. Those are big pieces. Yes, there is. Would you like me to read it, Christopher Ian? Without being, flippant about it. Yep. The collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble and then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. your score. Here it comes. 76. Highly commended. Congratulations. May I have a comment? Kelly, thank you.
Yeah, I love the kind of mirroring effect that's going on here. It's also got like a jellyfish kind of nature to it. For me, print quality is what held it back from going higher into that next scoring range. There's just a couple of shifts in colour tones as well throughout this. So being very, monotone, perhaps, keeping an eye on some of those colours in those whites would help improve the print quality.
Thank you, Kelly. We accept that score and we'll move to our next image, please. No. Yes. Yep. Okay. I'll read you the statement for this. Okay. The leafy sea dragon is found around Australian coastal waters. This most serene of creatures is vulnerable to pollution from the runoff and storm damage to kelp reefs. Captured here in the seagrasses off Rapid Bay, it is presented as a cyanotype print. One more time? Sure. The leafy sea dragon is found around Australian coastal waters. This most serene of creatures is vulnerable to pollution from runoff and storm damage to kelp reefs. Captured here in the seagrasses off Rapid Bay, it is presented as a cyanotype print. Thank you, judges. Okay. Print has scored 80, silver award. Who should give me a comment on this print? Johannes, you're right here close to me. Thank you. Can I have a comment, please?
I love the aqueous nature of the cyanotype. It just works so well with the subject matter. I do feel there's a little bit too much room on the right-hand side, though, and it's just sort of left me sort of feeling a little bit, empty. Yeah.
All puns probably taken and a couple of nods in agreement, though. So thank you. We accept that score and we'll move on to our next image, please. Thank you, John. Thank you, Rowan, for your zipping around of all our imagery. I can read the statement. This is the same as we've had before. If we're having a look at this and exploring that image, the collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble and then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. Image has scored 74. May I have a comment from somebody, please? Yep. Kelly, thank you. At 73.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm right on the average there, and I feel that that's where this particular print sits quite well within the scoring criteria. There is a big mash of colours here, and as those colours start to kind of work in towards each other, they're starting to lose a lot of the impact there, and there's some blocking up in terms of the quality of the print here with some of those colours there. So have a look at the paper type, and yeah, perhaps even printing this smaller would create even more impact.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, we accept that score. And while our print handlers move around, yes, next print, please, Rowan. Thank you. Yep, that's right. So, John, yep. Same statement. If you'd like me to read it, I will. Print scores 74. Comment, please, Christopher Ian. Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have access, but if you go up to Kale with your print, you'll see they have the lighting setup that we're looking at here, and your whites are just totally washed out. They'll probably encourage you towards one of the more exciting papers for this sort of material. Platoon would make your blacks sing. So,
Thank you. We accept that score, and we will move to our next print. I'm assuming, is this going off? Oh, sorry, that we're displaying that piece. Sorry, wait for John there. Okay. So let me read this statement to you. We'll see. Over 6,000 tigers a year are farmed in Asia. Intensively bred, they are killed for medicine, wine, and home decor. The image is created using the wet plate collodion process, which dates back to the 1850s. One more time? Absolutely. Over 6,000 tigers a year are farmed in Asia. Intensively bred, they are killed for medicine, wine, and decor. The image is created using the wet plate collodion process, which dates back to the 1850s. Yeah, sure. Okay. Over 6,000 tigers a year are farmed in Asia. Intensively bred, they are killed for medicine, wine, and home decor. The image is created using the wet plate collodion process, which dates back to the 1850s. Yes, you may, Christopher Ian. Print scores 82, silver award. Who would like to offer me a comment on this piece, please? Christopher Ian, thank you.
Oh my God, I was contemplating going that one extra point. So there's no automatic challenge. What we're seeing here is an absolutely perfect design where you've utilised the limitations to give us the caption, which I wish some other people would listen to because it's so brilliant. You've got an animal that's extinct, under pressure, coming out of the black, but the wire or the bars are just so grotesque. You see that it's a proud animal, it's contained. It's a beautiful matching of effect and style, and the idea that it's a dark slide because you could just close that dark slide and the image is lost.
Thank you, Christopher Ian. Thank you.
Can I just say that the presentation is...
Sorry, through the mic, please, Gal.
Just so everyone can hear me, I just want to say that, great job on the presentation. Like, that's a caged animal and you've given us a caged print. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you, John. The collection pursues the capturing and feeling of energy. The images have been created using natural elements in water. I started with a simple air bubble and then got lost in the experimental process with light, colour and viscosity. Inspired by nature, the forms are momentarily there before shifting into something new. Print scores 74. May I have a comment, please? Thank you, Kelly.
Again, we're continually presented with a very similar subject here, and I love the exploration of this, and I want to encourage the photographer to continue to do this. However, when we're judging a print competition, we really want to see a little bit more depth within the print and a little bit more control over some of those highlights and shadows. We've also got some colours that are starting to block up there, so revisit the file and then have a look at different options in terms of your print stock.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Next print, please. Okay. So we'll just go to the lights. We'll turn that off. Let me read you the statement that goes along with this. A flip book commissioned by the client, inspired by the falling jacaranda flowers, or, as the girls call them, purple snowflakes. As their annual family Christmas card, 100 copies were printed and posted to their large extended family and friends back home in the USA and Spain. Hint, no white gloves are required. That's the flip book. Would you like to hear the statement one more time, or you're okay with it? Okay. A flip book commissioned by the client inspired by the falling jacaranda flowers, or, as the girls call them, purple snowflakes. As their annual family Christmas card, 100 copies were printed and posted to their large extended family and friends back home in the USA and Spain. Hint, no white gloves required.
No, I think I just spotted something.
Okay, please. Okay. You good with it, guys? You don't need another flip? Okay. Everybody good?
Figured that was less than what I was doing.
Great. What you said? Yeah, it was presented like that in the thumbnail. Has scored 77, highly commended. Good. Thank you, Christopher. Christopher is at 83, and everybody else is in the 70s at the moment. Please, Christopher.
What a beautiful gift for the client to give to other people. What I saw, which was really good, is the first few family photos look almost the same. It just prepares you for more of the same. But of course, what happens is then the movement starts, and then the children appear, and they're doing different things. So to view it from one direction, you see fairly static images of the family getting slowly immersed in a flower, and you just accept that's what's going to come back at you. But in fact, it's the children doing odd things differently. And just as a premise to that, almost like a good book cover, the reverse is flowers just falling from sky. So there's a bit of genius here. I gave it 83. I think it's rewarded, should be rewarded for it.
Lisa, can I hear you speak to the flip book, please?
It was thank you, Christopher Ian, because I could have gone either way. I really could have gone. I love the concept of the flip book. I love that we didn't have to use gloves. I really responded to that. I thought that was really setting it in that sort of a family snapshot mode. I love the flowers that they fall and come up. The green pins. I could, yep, okay, that's part because part of the flowers are the green stems. I'm listening, and
Okay.
yep.
Johannes, and then I'm going to go to Kelly, and then I'm going to go back to Christopher Ian for his right of reply.
I gave this a 77. I love the concept, the fun of it. I love the fun of it. The fun is good, and but there's a frustration involved with it, and that it seemed to be everybody, not just me, that you can't easily flip through and get to see every image on the way, and there seems to be a point towards the end where 4 or 5 just flick past and you miss an element of the storytelling. And so for me, that feels like a story that's not told well. And it's really mechanics more than the content visually. And I gave it a 77. I'd like to give it more because it is fun. But I just felt that was a functional issue. And yeah.
That's it. I'm going to go to Kelly. High 70s there before we go back to
Yeah,
Christopher Ian.
I'm on 78, and I did want to go with you here into that 80 scoring range. But for me, I'm awarding with my score of 78, I'm awarding the concept. However, I come from Queensland, and where there's lots of jacarandas, and they don't have blue jacarandas. They are purple, and if you look through the book, there's some colour shifts, and some of the flowers are not the correct colour. Especially in the background, not the falling petals, but if you have a look in the top right-hand corner towards, as you flip through, you'll see that there is definitely a shift in some of the colours of the flowers there. And there's some shifts in the faces of the family members as well. So concept-wise, great job, but print-wise, I think we have to have a little bit more control there over what it is that we're presenting.
Christopher Ian, you have a right of reply.
I'm not going to deny it's not, but we've been spending maybe an hour looking at photos which don't reflect reality. Colours are allowed to be what they like. So I'm sorry I didn't know that about jacarandas. I just like the idea that it seems fairly static, and then all of a sudden it emerges at the point where it rushes through, where the children start doing different things. So you sort of get stuck in the centre, and then it really bursts when the children do the exciting stuff at the end. So the grandparent or whatever, the friend who gets this, will just think, oh, that's family almost boasting, a Facebook boast. And then all of a sudden, they're rewarded with the fun of it all, with the children being children. Sorry about that.
Okay, so Christopher Ian's score of 83 is locked in. Will our other 4 judges now please rescore? Now scores 78, highly commended. But lots of really good dialogue. I wanted strong arm Ansel will wrestle you, yes.
You don't need to wear gloves, you're invited to hold it under the lights.
Okay, so I'll read you the statement here so you know what how it goes together. In creating Lost in Confusion, I utilised an unconventional process to capture the image, then applied a printing technique which I believe is unique. I3D printed a depth map and cast it in a hydrocal gypsum. I then positionally registered a printed coating, and then finally an epoxy glass resin was applied. So have a look, and I'll read that again because obviously you'll sort of take that in whilst you're sort of viewing the piece. In creating Lost in Confusion, I utilised an unconventional process to capture the image, then applied a printing technique which I believe is unique. I3D printed. Thank you. I 3D printed a depth map and cast it in hydrocal gypsum. I then positionally registered a printed coating, and finally an epoxy glass resin was applied. Got your head around that?
Lost in Confusion. Is that the title?
The title of the piece is Lost in Confusion.
I'm going to need that description one more time.
Sure. Okay. In creating Lost in Confusion, I utilised an unconventional process to capture the image, then applied a printing technique which I believe is unique. I 3D printed a depth map and cast it in hydrocal gypsum. I then positionally registered a printed coating, and finally an epoxy glass resin was applied. Score is 83, silver award. Johannes van Kaan is nodding at me because he's at 88, so we're going to have an elective challenge there. Johannes, you do have 3 other judges also in the 80s there with you, so let's start your challenge, please.
How different is this? How there's an element of glow that comes out of this that attracts you like magpies, and you look in and you may be trying to find something, a face or whatever, but you don't need to, because there's so much in there that you can swirl around and just enjoy the journey rather than the end result. So you don't need to find a horse, a person or anything. I would have gone higher, except I was just a little bit perturbed by the horizon line that goes through the middle. But aside from that, it's such a wonderful concept, beautifully executed, and it's complete. And yeah, I gave it
88.
an 88.
Christopher Ian, could I hear from you please at 77? Highly commended.
Yes, I was easily in the mid-80s until someone put it under those lights. The moment they went under those lights, the blacks looked milky and weak, and it lost the effect that my friend had when it was 2 metres in front of that. It really looked like a mistake almost. So I don't know, am I being unfair? I probably am being unfair because I don't think the judge, the person who created this, expected that sort of, well, dissection. They expected it to be viewed as they're viewing it at home. So I will be going up.
Kelly Brown, I'd like to hear from you, please. You're at 86.
Yeah, do you know, I'm really glad you challenged this. Gosh, it's so different, right? And I feel like that's why we're struggling with our scores, because we're not quite sure. We're trying to make something of something. But the longer I sit with it as an art piece, as an abstract piece, that's been exquisitely presented to us in this frame, I can't fault that at all. But the way that it, like, I had to listen to the description of how it was made multiple times to try and understand the process. And I think that the conversation that we're having about this needs to happen. And I'm definitely going to listen to my fellow judges here because, yeah, I'm excited by this, but I'm also challenged by this.
Lisa or Angela, do you have anything to add to this debate?
My score was, I think I went 84.
That's right, 84.
Yeah. So I really appreciate the finish of it. It's very schmick, and I can appreciate, I think it's one of the better presentations of work. I enjoyed that it was, there's so many layers to this work with the alternative print process. I am hearing what you're saying, but I'm not looking at it and thinking the blacks need to be black. I see this using photographic processes, but it's actually an art piece, I think. Like, I think it goes beyond photography. They're using the photographic medium, like photography as a medium to express something that's larger than the medium itself.
If Lisa, if you don't have anything, we'll go back to Johannes for his right of reply.
So we could actually all agree that this is taking photography to an extreme. It's adding, well, let's say another dimension to photographs. And in this category, it doesn't need to be a photograph of anything in particular. If it gains our interest and holds our attraction, or vice versa, then it is in some way successful. That little flash of red at the top, isn't that genius? You go there and you go, yes, because otherwise it would have just been cool and a little bit of gold and stuff, but then that little flash of red, it's like a spark. And I'm hoping that spark will get you a bigger number. I only gave it 88, you know what to do.
We lock in 88 for Johannes. And our other 4 judges, please, can now rescore. That number has grown to 87. Congratulations. Very solid silver award. We'll move on to our next piece. I'll read you the statement that goes with this. Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder, E.B. White. Created by printing multiple copies of the same image, cutting and layering them for effect. Read it one more time. Always be on the lookout for the presence of wonder, E.B. White. Created by printing and multiplying copies of the same image, cutting and layering them for effect. Score is 77, highly commended, congratulations. Would you like to give me a comment on this, please? Thank you, Lisa.
I think in this instance the frame was an unnecessary element. I think the actual image, the flowers themselves and the layering and the technique was really, really enjoyable. And I think I would have liked to have seen perhaps a full bleed of that rather than it being really constrained and contained in that. So I just encourage the photographer to revisit the framing aspect of this work.
Thank you. Accept that score. Let's move on to our next image, please. Okay, let me read you the artist statement. The railwayman is an acknowledgement of the past eras of trains and the life spent in love with the service of the railway system. It has been created with an emulsion lift and transfer to a brass plate.
Can open it up and move tilt around the light if you want. No ones.
So while you're doing that, I'll read it one more time. I'll sit in Steve Gallone's seat for a moment. Excuse me, Steve. The railwayman is an acknowledgement of past era of trains and a life love spent with love in the service of the railway system. It has been created with an emulsion lift and transfer to a brass plate. You're okay.
So that's gone through.
No, not yet, but
No,
see,
yes.
indeed. One more.
Just let me refresh, it's not happening.
Sure. No, you're all right, Lisa.
Yes.
Score is 79. Highly commended. Who would like to talk to this piece? Give me a comment, please. Thank you, Angela.
We're finishing on this one, and I think we're finishing on a high. And I think this is a really beautiful portrait, and it's really crystal clear, and I really love the print. I think it's very nostalgic, and I think by using, I have felt some of the mechanisms that have surrounded the photographs today haven't quite hit their mark, but I do think that this has hit its mark right here with the repetition of the mechanism that it's contained within, and then by using that mechanism also in the picture, in the photograph.
Kelly, would you like to add anything to that? You're okay?
Yeah, I agree, but I think here, for me, I would have gone high 80s had the photograph inside the box not been so distracted by all of the elements inside the box. I think that it's housed well before you open it, but the minute you open it, you're competing with all of the things going on inside the box around the print. So the print doesn't stand out enough on its own. Given it a black, like if it had filled that space, or given it a black kind of border or like background or something behind it, just so that it could stand, like be stronger within its capsule. Like I feel like it's a really great capsule and it's a great tie into the print, but it's being let down by when you go in, you know, because it's so dark to see the actual photograph, like the type of photograph that it is on metal, it's hard to see, but I'm looking at the red lights around the edges and all the different lines and things like that are intersecting with
Gotcha,
the actual
Kel.
photograph.
Thank you. Can we put our hands together for John and Rowan? They've been running all these print installations around. To Ruth, our scribe here in the background. All judges need to stay for the moment, I've been advised. Thank you, judges. You've waded through a very interesting submissions. Thank you.